This act created the Petroleum Fund. It also created the Petroleum Revenue Investment Reserve, which we are discussing today. These two are the bedrock of the legal framework for collecting, saving, and investing petroleum revenues. However, government also put in place specialized institutions and allocated responsibility. Uganda was created, the National Oil and Gas Company, Bank of Uganda was entrusted with the responsibility of managing the Petroleum Revenue Investment Reserve, which we call the PRIR, as a sovereign investment vehicle for the country. Also, the Office of the Auditor General within its mandate was given a role that it is supposed to play. And of course, the Uganda Revenue Authority, which is responsible for collecting this revenue before it is passed on to Bank of Uganda. So through these efforts, Uganda has deliberately chosen a path of preparation, seeking to avoid challenges faced by other resource-rich nations, while oil wealth became a source of conflict or was squandered through poor governance. Globally, there are very many valuable lessons which we have drawn upon, such as Norway, such as Botswana, and there are very many others. These will be discussed in a detailed presentation in the subsequent sessions. These funds successfully transformed revenues from their natural resources into a lasting national asset, and this was through strict governance, transparency, and a very strict and disciplined savings approach. At Bank of Uganda, therefore, the PRIR, the Petroleum Revenue Investment Reserve, embodies Uganda's vision for following a similar path as those countries that have succeeded in managing their natural resource. Its purpose is to safeguard petroleum revenue, not immediately needed for the budgets, by investing them prudently, so that even when the oil production declines, the benefits will continue to flow and support national development and future generations. However, the success of this framework depends heavily on public awareness and trust. At Bank of Uganda, we recognize that laws and policies alone are not enough. The media, who we have in the room today, plays a critical role in bridging the information gap between institutions and citizens. Through accurate reporting, your investigative journalism, and well-informed commentary, you help the public understand the decisions that are being made. You track how resources are managed and hold institutions accountable. Today, we shall provide clarity on how oil revenue will be managed and reported. But very importantly, we want to foster collaboration between the bank and the media to ensure that there is consistent, accurate, and transparent communication to the public moving forward. It is through these discussions that we hope that you will gain insights that will update you on the matters of petroleum revenue management that the country has made, and particularly the role of Bank of Uganda. So that you're able to report and explain these items in ways that resonate with citizens. As Uganda approaches the first oil production phase, there will be heightened public interest and scrutiny. It is therefore imperative that accurate information flows to the public in real time, helping to build confidence in the systems that are being put in place. I therefore encourage you today to ask as many questions as possible. Please seek clarifications if there is something that is not clear, and engage robustly in the sessions that we are going to hold. And also, please feel free to tell us where you feel that we are lacking, so that our communication can be improved. Very important. Therefore, on Bank of Uganda, I thank you for honoring our invitation, especially for those who kept time, and for the critical role you play in shaping national conversations. I welcome you to be our agent in building public trust and in safeguarding. I'll just make a quick introduction of our team from Bank of Uganda. Kisa Kalema, who is the team lead. There's also Ernest Wesica, a very key resource. And Carlos Carlos Yakub Lanyaka, also from communications. I think those faces are covered.
Into 2060, all the way into perpetuity. So the idea was that government would deal with the current expenditure through the roads and the infrastructure that we need now, and then it would set up a sovereign wealth fund to deal with future generations. So let's first kind of dive into what a sovereign wealth fund is. Excuse me, I'm sure you are all aware, but let me just get into it, especially about the objectives. So a sovereign wealth fund is a state-owned investment fund that manages a country's savings from commodity exports or foreign reserves for the benefits of its economy and citizens, either now or in their future. So they're typically set up with three objectives. One could be a savings and heritage fund, which is what the Petroleum Revenue Investment Reserve is. And that is typically for saving for future generations. So it doesn't matter whether government is making money from coffee, it has to go into that sovereign wealth fund. Whether it's making money from taxes, whether it's making money from oil, all that money goes into the Kuwait Investment Authority to save for future generations. Then, because they're very dependent on copper. So when prices fell during COVID, the stabilization fund helped them to stabilize their economy. So basically what we call fiscal smoothing. Then finally, we have things called strategic funds. Those are development funds that a country like Uganda can come up with a special purpose vehicle just to invest in specific things. Kind of like, I'm sure you guys have all heard about agriculture credit facility. That is something that is like a development fund. So Ireland recently set up one that is supposed to provide loans just for dairy producers. So that is another kind of sovereign wealth fund. So these are the three main types, but most countries have a hybrid model. Like Norway, the most popular sovereign wealth fund in the world, has a hybrid model. It is part savings, part stabilization. But for Uganda, our main aim was a savings fund because we assumed that current expenditure would be taken care of through the consolidated fund and budgetary expenditure. So why did we decide on an SWF? When the law, so we looked at various examples around the world. So countries that have sovereign wealth funds, Norway, for example, discovered oil in 1969. So far, it has saved 96% of its oil revenues, and it has the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, about $1.4 trillion. It has an annual spending, so just 3 to 4% of the interest goes to the country to support the budget. The rest of the money is invested over and over around the world to cater for knowing into perpetuity. Another country closer to home, Botswana, it discovered diamonds in 1960. It took a while to create a sovereign wealth fund. It finally did it in 1993. And this helped it to transform from one of the poorest African countries to upper middle income, which it is now. They annual payments to the government as budgetary income. But what did not work is that they didn't have a rule for how money could come out of the sovereign wealth funds. So government decided to withdraw when and wherever, and instead of being a savings fund like they had originally planned, it turned into more of a stabilization fund. However, recently I know their central bank asked for legislation to be put into place in order to limit these withdrawals and protect the money, because now they're also thinking about future generations. Diamonds will not last forever. Some countries without a sovereign wealth fund, we can look at Chad. Chad had a poverty level before it found oil. They have similar amounts. They had similar amounts to us, about 1.6 billion in recoverable. So they found oil in 2003, and at that point they had a poverty level of about 55% and a GDP per capita of about 205. So during the oil boom, they decided, oh no, we're not going to start a sovereign wealth fund. Let's do current expenditure. We think we can manage without putting money away for the future. However, laws changed, things changed. Instead of investing in hospitals, infrastructure, and roads, military spending went up by 2,150%. and they spent about 1.2 billion every year annually, and they really don't have much to show for it. Recently, World Bank said they are going to be poorer than they were before they discovered oil in 2003. They're projected to be poorer than they were before. Then Venezuela, which is an example that we all know, also found oil very early in the 1950s. It was the fourth richest country in the world, not just in South America, in the world. And they had some of the world's largest proven reserves. They also did not decide to start a sovereign wealth fund. And this led into hyperinflation, mass immigration. They were spending without